He came to in the middle of someone else's life, the male lead in one of those toxic romance novels. Before he could even process the memories flooding his brain, a woman so beautiful it was almost offensive slapped him clean across the face. His hand instinctively shot up to retaliate, but a few lines of text scrolled across his vision like comments on a live stream. Here we go. The female lead starts the abuse. She's gonna regret this slap so hard later, it'll drive her crazy. Yep, just wait till she finds out her precious little brother staged his own car accident. She'll be on her knees begging the hero to hit her back. Honestly, isn't the guy a little bit of a moron too? He knows he's being framed, but never looks for proof, just keeps denying it like a broken record. Reading the comments, he just smirked. She'll regret it later? No need to wait. He'd make her regret it right now. He didn't hit women, but he had no problem hitting a bitch. You psycho bitch, you think you can put your hands on me? He roared and sent a kick straight into her stomach. She flew backward, her body slamming against the wall before sliding down to the floor in a heap. In that brief pause, he finally sorted through the memories. He'd been dropped into a book, specifically a trashy novel called You're Coddling Your Brother, so why are you crying when I asked for a divorce? He was now the protagonist, Kalen Vance, the poor sap who gets misunderstood by his wife, framed by her manipulative best friend, emotionally and physically tormented, and then, after finally demanding a divorce, becomes the object of her desperate, groveling redemption tour. The gorgeous woman clutching her stomach on the floor was Leora Sterling, his wife in the legal sense of the word, the novel's heroine. The story was just getting started. Chapter: Leora's conniving best friend Zane had just been in a car accident and insinuated to her that he, Kalen, had arranged it. Leora, without a shred of evidence, believed him instantly. She came home, slapped the original Kalen, and demanded to go to the hospital to apologize to the little snake. The original Kalen, furious and heartbroken, refused, so she spent the night at the hospital nursing the fraud. Damn it. If he'd shown up 2 seconds later, he could have avoided the slap. She lay a hand on him, he'd break it. His own mother never dared to hit him like that. As he finished processing the memory, more text appeared in his vision, bold and black, impossible to miss. What the hell? The hero just kicked the heroine? Should he have just taken a slap, and then they give each other the silent treatment? Maybe the author got flamed so hard they secretly rewrote the plot. Definitely. I read this before, and it didn't go down like this. The hero never laid a finger on her, not even at the end. A live comment feed. He got it. They were reviews from readers in another world. His arrival here had completely derailed the novel's plot. From now on his life was his own. That weak, spineless doormat who gets beaten, framed, and lands in the ICU had absolutely nothing to do with him. He strode over and loomed above the pathetic figure of Leora Sterling. She said he hired someone to hit Zane? Where's her proof? Her eyes blazed with fury. Kalen, he hit her. He actually hit his wife. He's not a man. He cracked a wicked grin and threw his hands up. She started it. At this point it was just mutual combat. He leaned in closer. Besides, a woman who attacks her own husband for some pretty boy freeloader, calling her a bitch is a compliment. He's calling her a bitch? Yeah, she's a married woman messing around with another man. That's disloyal. He saved her family from ruin, and she repays that kindness by attacking him for some parasite. That's ungrateful. A disloyal, ungrateful piece of work like her. What's wrong with calling her a bitch? Bitch, 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 bitch. As he finished, the comment feed lit up again. Damn, the hero's got a sharp tongue now. He doesn't remember him ever calling her a bitch in the original story. Tell us more about the ending. Don't these kinds of stories usually get abandoned halfway through? What else? The hero forgave her, got together with her and the second female lead, and lived happily ever after with both. Leora looked up, and in her eyes mixed with rage was something new. Shock, utter disbelief. After a brief moment of stunned silence, Leora's anger flared even hotter, her tone dripping with disappointment. Does he even have to ask why she hit him? Just because she showed Zane a little kindness. He hired someone to run him over. If she hadn't talked him out of it, he would have called the police, and he'd be in jail. What would happen to her and their daughter then? Proof, he asked again, his voice calm. Who else could it be? Yesterday at the office she accused him of trying to seduce him, and today he gets hit by a car. Who else but him? She shot back. He let out a short, sharp laugh. He stepped forward, grabbed a fistful of her hair, and slapped her hard across the face. He who alleges must prove. Ever heard of it? Slap another one. If he committed a crime, the law will deal with him. He doesn't need her playing judge and jury. Slap a third. Or is it that she's so broken up about her little boyfriend getting hurt that she just couldn't wait to find an excuse to come after him for him? The comment feed exploded. WTF, the hero is a wife-beater now. Is the author trying to get canceled? No matter what the heroine did, you can't just hit her like that. Is it wrong that I find this incredibly satisfying? Go Kaylin, go. Is he afraid she'll sue him for domestic abuse? Dude above me must be speed reading. The hero just said it was mutual combat. She won't. She's a lovesick fool. She's only nice to Zane out of a sense of obligation for what his parents did for her. She really loves the hero. After beating Leora until her face was bruised and swollen, he planted his foot on her cheek, pressing it into the floor. The knot of rage in his chest finally loosened. He felt good, and once he felt good, he brought up the divorce. Leora struggled to her feet. The look in her eyes could be drawn on a pie chart. 1/3 humiliation, 1/3 disbelief, 1/3 rage, and a sliver of despair. He's not the Kaylin he knew. The Kaylin he knew wouldn't do this to her. She's not the Leora he knew either, he said flatly. The Leora he knew would believe in him unconditionally, and she sure as hell wouldn't cheat. She didn't. She told him times. She just saw Zane as a brother. He's the one who's being paranoid and possessive, she shrieked. That's why he had him run over. People like him belong in prison. The words tumbled out, but each one seemed to cause her sharp pain from her bruised mouth. Then call the cops, go on. If she could find any evidence, he taunted. But before she did, let's go get this divorce finalized. Her family's company was about to go bankrupt when he loaned her $1 million to save it. At the time, that money was worth about % of Valerian Corporation. He'll give her a discount. Just give him the cash equivalent of % of the company's current value, and they'll call it even. As he said it, he could feel a thrill of excitement. He was about to be rich. Finally, it was his turn to be a multimillionaire. His sweet, sweet money. The comments popped up again. The plot is completely off the rails. The original hero left with nothing. Now he's demanding a payout. He thinks the book mentioned Valerian Corp is worth around million now. Percent is $1,000,000. 5 million is nothing. The girl who chases him later in the story is the heir to a billion-dollar empire. Leora stubbornly turned her head away. She won't divorce him, not unless he agrees to leave with nothing. The comments continued. She doesn't mean it. Saying he has to leave with nothing is just her way of stopping the divorce. She still loves him. Here we go, the part where they drag this out for chapters and still don't get divorced. He'll bet you $5 it takes at least chapters for them to finally sign the papers. Not a chance, he said. That % is what he's owed. She wants him to walk away with nothing? Dream on. If she doesn't agree, she can expect to hear from his lawyer, $1 million. He was an idiot. He wouldn't throw that away just to prove a point. Still, the comments gave him pause. Leora did have feelings for the original Kaylin. Of course, that didn't mean she wasn't falling for someone else. Plenty of people love two people at once, but he sure as hell wasn't going to accept that. There's an old saying, he can reform a sinner, but he can't fix a cheater. If Leora had been truly loyal to the original Kaylin, he might have considered sticking around, but a too cunning, manipulative woman like her, he wanted nothing to do with her. The problem was, if this went to court, things could get messy. While Leora and Zane's relationship was shady, the novel was tagged no infidelity, so they hadn't actually done anything physical yet. In the original story, the divorce only happened after Zane hired someone to run Kaylin over. Kaylin was in the hospital fighting for his life, while Leora was still fussing over her little brother. She only agreed to the divorce when she saw Kaylin in a wheelchair at the courthouse looking half dead. He's no masochist. In his last life, he got diagnosed with ALS at a young age and could only wait to die in a wheelchair. This time he finally has a healthy body. He won't let anyone harm him. Suddenly, a brilliant idea popped into his head. His tone softened. Come on, take him to see Zane. Leora's eyes narrowed with suspicion. After the beating she'd just taken, she obviously didn't believe he was suddenly going to apologize to Zane. Take him to him, he clarified. He wanted to confront him face-to-face. When she hesitated, he let his face harden, his expression shifting back to the man who'd just beaten her. Fine, she immediately conceded. The comments section went wild. Damn, does anyone else think the heroine is pathetic? The hero speaks to her nicely. She hesitates. He scowls, and she immediately agrees. Totally. It feels like the heroines in these books are just spoiled brats. If he'd just smacked her down the first time she got too close to that guy, none of this would have happened. Go, Kaylin, go. The crowd goes wild. Before they left, Leora put on some makeup to cover the bruises. She drove her car, and he followed in his. In her passenger seat, that little snake Zane had placed a custom-made plaque that read, "Brothers Exclusive Spot." The fact that Leora allowed that thing to be there was unforgivable. Did she not know how much that would piss off her husband? No, she knew. She was just so used to being adored that she didn't give a damn about his feelings. At the hospital, Zane was lying in bed wrapped up like a mummy. The moment he saw him and Leora walk in, he let out a theatrical hiss of pain. Leora immediately rushed toward him. He stuck out his foot. Leora caught off guard, tripped, and went down face first, eating the floor. Legally, they were still married, ing on another man right in front of him. Who gave her the nerve? Kaylin. He tripped her on purpose. Zane shrieked from a bed. She should watch where she's going, he said nonchalantly, though of course it was intentional. He wasn't about to admit it. Leora scrambled up from the floor and shot him a wounded look, but this time she stayed put, not daring to move closer to the bed. See, what did he tell her? She's a masochist. She only learns when it hurts. TSK. Look at him all wrapped up like a Christmas ham. What kind of idiot driver doesn't have the sense to just finish the job and kill a two-faced snake like him? Kaylin, did he come here just to laugh at her? Don't get cocky. If Leora hadn't begged him, he would have already called the cops, Zane said, his face a mask of righteous indignation, as if he were the one bullying him. Then do it. He dared him. Call them, he challenged. She's saying he hired someone to put him in this hospital, right? Then call the police and have him arrested. Zane's face turned beet red. After a long moment, she knows he won't do anything to him because he's Leora's husband, but he's gone too far. First he tried to have him killed, and now he came here to humiliate him. Kaylin, has he lost his mind? Leora cut in. Zane has already forgiven him. What more does he want? Slap. Didn't her parents teach her not to interrupt when men are talking? Before Leora could even react, Zane exploded. Kaylin, he hit her right in front of him. He's calling the police. He swore he won't let him get away with this. It turns out that intense emotion really can unlock human potential. Just like that, Zane, supposedly riddled with fractures, sat bolt upright in his bed. The comment feed was in an uproar. OMG, tell me a joke. A guy with full body fractures just sat up in bed to yell at someone. Zane wasn't hurt that badly. He just had minor injuries and bribed the doctor to wrap him up like a mummy. Too bad the heroine is so trusting. I wonder if she'll finally see through his act this time. Hello. He'd like to report a crime. A calm voice echoed through the hospital room. His voice. Is he crazy? Leora shrieked, lunging for his phone. Slap. She was well behaved again. Clutching her cheek, Leora retreated to the far corner of the room. Kaylin, what is he trying to do? Does he actually want to go to jail? Falsely accusing someone of attempted murder is slander. If the circumstances are serious, it constitutes a felony according to the criminal code. Fabricating facts to defame another person is punishable by up to 3 years in prison, detention, or public surveillance, he said, kindly educating the legally illiterate. Zane's face paled. He turned to Leora desperately. Leora, he didn't. He scoffed. Idiot. What's the use of explaining to her? She can explain it to the cops. The feed erupted again. Bitch, why he shit? The hero actually called the cops. The plot has completely shattered. Zane staging his own accident wasn't that clever. A simple investigation will expose the truth. Is the little snake about to be written out of the story? Is the wife-chasing crematorium plot starting early? That depends on what the heroine does now. The police arrived quickly. He played the recording of his conversation with Zane for them, and said he hoped they would help him clear his name. Under police questioning, Zane stammered and stuttered, completely losing his composure. It was to be expected. Only the one who frames him knows how truly innocent he is. He knew exactly what happened with the car accident from the very beginning. His only goal was to use the incident to drive a wedge between him and Leora. Unfortunately for him, he made one fatal miscalculation. He wasn't the original Kaylin, that spineless wimp created by the author just to pad out the word count. He was a normal person, And when he dealt with problems, his first priority was to cut through the bullshit with a sharp knife. He wasn't about to let this soap opera drama screw up his life. He had full confidence that the police would deliver justice. Within a few days, the police discovered a large wire transfer between Zane and the driver of the car. They even uncovered his private deal with the doctor to falsify his medical reports. 3 cheers for the cops of this world. Kalen, can they talk? Early the next morning, Leora showed up at his door. After they gave their statements at the hospital that day, he'd moved back in with his parents since he had taken the original Kalen's place. His money was his money, his parents were his parents, his daughter was his daughter, and his wife, not even a dog would want her. Splash. The second his mom saw Leora, she tossed a bucket of water on her. He couldn't help but laugh on the sidelines. Mom, if she's gonna douse a bitch like her, she could have just used the leftover vegetable water. Why waste a bucket of clean water? His mom shot him a glare. This is all his fault, he little bastard. He just smiled sheepishly and didn't argue. The original Kalen's parents really did spoil him rotten. Otherwise, they never would have given him their entire life savings from the city's buyout of their old property, just so he could help Leora save her family's company. He'd be hard-pressed to find better parents anywhere. Soaked to the bone, Leora just stood there, not getting angry, her posture incredibly humble. Is he satisfied, Kalen? If not, he can throw another bucket on her. He leaned against the door frame, not wanting the dripping wet Leora to step inside and ruin their clean floor. Spit it out, but unless it's about the divorce, he doesn't think they have anything to talk about. Could he please let Zane go? She pleaded. His parents were very good to her. If he lets him off this time, she promises she'll cut off all contact with him. They'll never see each other again, okay? As the words left her mouth, the comment feed filled with vitriol. The heroine is still begging for her little brother. Wah, bitch. Don't you dare agree, hero. A monster like Zane deserves to be in jail. I really want to slap some sense into this disgusting heroine. Never see each other again. Yeah, right. Even a dog wouldn't believe that. Sure, he said. She agrees to the divorce, gives him what she owes him from the company, and he'll let Zane walk. Who wants a tainted woman like her? He thought. He wants the money. He knew she'd agree. In these kinds of novels, the male side piece is basically invincible in the early chapters. Even if he murdered the main character, the heroine would probably slap the corpse and tell it to get up and apologize. Besides, from the original Kalen's memories, he knew why Leora was so devoted to Zane. When she was a little girl, she was kidnapped. The kidnappers abandoned her on the run, and because she was too young to remember her address or parents' names, she ended up in an orphanage. She was later adopted by Zane's parents, who were very kind to her. A few years later, Leora's biological parents found her, disgusted by the poverty of Zane's family and afraid they'd become a burden. They left a sum of money and took Leora away. It wasn't until Zane graduated from college and got a job at Valerian Corp that Leora recognized him. From him, she learned that his parents, her adoptive parents, had passed away. She was consumed with guilt for not being there to see them one last time. To atone for her guilt, she adopted Zane as her little brother and gave him anything he wanted. And Zane, emboldened by her favoritism, had the guts to provoke the original Kalen time and time again. But Leora forgot one thing. Her guilt wasn't his problem, and she had no right to drag him or the original Kalen into her penance. Kalen, don't say things he doesn't mean, she said, her voice tight. If they get divorced, what about their daughter? What was her concern for her daughter when she was cheating on him? He shot back, tired of her using their child as a shield. She told him she wasn't cheating. She just saw him as a brother, she yelled. Cheating isn't just about sex. A married woman getting inappropriately close with another man counts too. Look, stop wasting his time with this crap. Either they get their lawyers on the phone today and start the divorce proceedings, or she can watch her little boyfriend go to prison. Seeing the hesitation on her face, he sneered. She never hesitated when she was asking him to be considerate of Zane, but now that it's going to cost her, she's having second thoughts. It just goes to show some people are only generous with other people's money. He guessed without his cash her little brother wouldn't want her anymore either. The comments flared up again. He got a point. Say it louder for the people in the back. So true. When she was cozying up to her brother, she always told the hero not to overthink it. Now that she has to pay up to save him, she's feeling the pinch. If she gives him the settlement, he's going to walk away with like $1 million, right? $10 million. That's set for life money. Fine, she'd do it, Leora said, her face a shifting palette of green and white before she finally gave in. He felt a pang of indignation for the original Kalen. His wife would turn on him over a simple misunderstanding, but it took countless disappointment for her to even consider giving up on her brother, and now she was willing to pay a fortune just to save him. In the end of the novel, the original Kalen actually forgave her. That could only happen in a book. In reality, the story would have ended with the original Kalen dead and Leora and Zane living happily ever after. Eager to get Zane out of the picture, they finalized the divorce paperwork at lightning speed. It's amazing how fast things move when he has money. Watching the massive sum hit his bank account and holding the signed documents transferring % of Valerian Corp to him, he didn't waste a second. He immediately went to see Leora's uncle. Valerian Corp was a family business. The old man, Leora's grandfather, had always favored his younger son, so Leora's Uncle Rex was initially in charge. As the novel goes, Uncle Rex was an incompetent fool who nearly ran the company into the ground. The old man had to bring in his older son, Leora's dad, another man with no real business sense, to clean up the mess. That's when the original Kalen had to step in with his $1 million investment to save the day. After Leora successfully turned the company around, Uncle Rex was always scheming to get back in power, but Leora consolidated her control with her own % stake, and her father held another. Together they had more shares than her grandfather and Uncle Rex combined, leaving him powerless. But now, with his %, Uncle Rex would suddenly become the majority shareholder in Valerian Corporation. As for whether Uncle Rex would run the company into the ground again, not his problem. Toxic romance, angsty drama, love triangles, get that crap away from him. He had money and looks. He could find any woman he wanted. It's not like every other woman on the planet had dropped dead, forcing him to hang himself from the Leora Sterling tree. Uncle Rex, it turned out, was a very practical man. The moment he heard he was selling his shares, his years of animosity toward him vanished. They were suddenly best buds, bonding over what a piece of work Leora was, acting like they were long-lost brothers. The comment feed was dying of laughter. Did the hero really just sell the shares to the uncle? He's going for the throat. He's out to destroy her entire family. Leora's parents are going to have a bigger meltdown than she did. No kidding. Her mom spent half her life getting walked all over by the Sterling family. She finally gets a taste of power, and now it's all gone. Serves them right. After Kalen saved their company, the second they were back on their feet, her mom turned on him. No good deed goes unpunished. It's a classic story. The hero really, truly does not give a damn about Leora anymore. After the deal, his net worth was around $1 million. This wave of insane wealth had finally crashed over him. But he deserved it. Setting aside his initial $1 million investment, Leora and he never signed a prenuptial. Half of her assets were legally his, and since she was the one who cheated, he was entitled to the lion's share anyway. He kept his promise and signed the papers to drop the charges against Zane. With some strings pulled by Leora, he was released. With the money in hand, he immediately bought a mansion and hired 2 bodyguards. The mansion was a top-tier luxury home in the same exclusive neighborhood where Leora lived, the kind he couldn't even get into without an appointment. As for the bodyguards, in the original novel, Kalen's parents were constantly harassed by Leora after the divorce, which wore them down completely. With bodyguards, he'd never have to worry about his parents being bothered by that psycho. As expected, the moment Uncle Rex got the shares, he couldn't wait to kick Leora out of the CEO position. When Leora's mother found out, she came storming over to his new house to settle the score. Kalen Vance, he little son of a bitch. He's not interested in listening to her, and she doesn't have the right to speak to him. Get her. The second her mother's foot crossed the threshold, his bodyguards swarmed her, gave her a sound beating, and tossed her out onto the street. As for calling the cops, please. His bodyguards were acting in defense of their employer. Besides, she was the one trespassing and looking for a fight. Like mother, like daughter, he guessed. He made a point of waiting at the old house and having her beaten a second time. After that, she finally got the message and didn't dare show her face again. Once all that was settled, he packed a small bag and set off to see the world. The helplessness he'd felt in his past life, confined to a wheelchair, gave him an intense craving to explore. The world was so big, and he wanted to see it. Majestic mountains, beautiful beaches, the brilliant Aurora Borealis. What wasn't more interesting than the stupid drama of the original novel? Along the way, he met plenty of like-minded, beautiful women. They met on their journeys. With some he huddled for warmth at the foot of a snowy mountain. With others he rubbed sunscreen on each other on a sandy beach. With others still he battled out in the heart of a forest. After their brief encounters, they would part ways, their time together like a beautiful, fleeting dream. The tone of the comment feed gradually began to change. Isn't this supposed to be a wife-chasing novel? How'd it turn into a travel blog? He's so jealous of a hero. He wants to have a romantic encounter with a beautiful woman too. Only rich people have romantic encounters when they travel. Poor people just look at the scenery. Dude, come on, don't rub it in. He wants to go on a spontaneous trip like that. His boss would be thrilled. One less severance package to pay out. The crematorium plot is probably dead and buried. And just like that, he traveled for over a year. A year later, he returned home to spend Christmas with his parents. They told him that Leora had come by many times, but she was always stopped by security at the gate. He also heard that not long ago, due to internal power struggles, the funding chain at Valerian Corp snapped, and the company declared bankruptcy. Speak of the devil. A moment later there was a knock at the door of the mansion. He opened it. Standing outside were Leora and their daughter Alara. Leora's face was pale, and her eyes had changed. They were weary, empty, with a hint of something he couldn't quite name. The expensive designer clothes she used to wear had been replaced by something from a department store. What did she get in? He asked, surprised. With grand a year in HOA fees he was paying going to waste. Son, it's Christmas, just let them in, his mom said, appearing behind him with a peacemaking smile. It dawned on him. His mom must have missed her granddaughter and told security to let them through. Daddy, Alara said in a sweet, quiet voice. He scooped Alara in his arms and stepped aside to let Leora in. Did you miss Daddy? He asked, rubbing his nose against hers. To be honest, he'd always liked kids, but only in small doses. As for Alara, the daughter of the original Kaelin and Leora, he had no intention of fighting Leora for custody. He would make sure she was provided for, and when she got married, he'd give her a generous dowry so she could have a beautiful wedding. But that was it. Leora didn't sit down. She just stood in the living room watching him. Valerian Corp is gone. Good riddance. It should have gone under years ago, he said. She understood his meaning perfectly. If it weren't for him, the company would have collapsed a long time ago. Comments. So satisfying. The hero is so right. Ungrateful bastards. That uncle is really something else. It took the hero and heroine years to bring the company back from the dead, and he bankrupted it in one. The heroine's dad is a piece of work too. He knew the company was failing, but instead of cutting his losses, he kept throwing money at it. The heroine has to work a normal job now. I bet she regrets everything. She deserves it. That's what cheaters get. Suddenly, Leora said, Zane's dead. Heaven has eyes, then, he replied, unconcerned. Bitch, why he shit? When did he die? Did I miss a chapter? About chapters ago, the hero met a truck driver whose shipment of fruit had spoiled and the client refused to pay. The hero found out the driver's wife had left him and he needed money to pay for his daughter's leukemia treatment. The hero paid the medical bills, promised to cover all future costs, and even took the guy out for a spa day. And then he casually mentioned how he'd been cheated on and showed the driver a picture of Zane. Damn, that's like something out an ancient story about training assassins. Feed him, treat him well, take care of his family. If the guy had any sense of honor after hearing how the hero was wronged, he had to take care of it. The hero is so bad, I love it. Leora bit her lip, her expression almost pleading. So, can they Kaelin? He cut her off. There is no we. There is you, and there is me. After the divorce, you are you, and he is he. What about their daughter? Is he really going to let her grow up in a single-parent home? He looked at Alara seriously. Sweetheart, tell Daddy, do you want to live with Daddy or with Mommy? Alara's eyes darted between him and Leora. Can I have both? His heart clenched. In any divorce, the children are the ones who get hurt the most. The parents make the mistakes, but the kids bear the burden. He quickly suppressed that flicker of emotion and spoke gently. Her mother made a mistake that can't be forgiven, so Daddy can't live with her anymore. He knows it's not fair that she has to suffer for their mistakes, but that's just how it is. She has to make a choice. The comments drifted by. He's right. When adults screw up, the kids suffer the most. The hero is so cold, he hasn't seen his daughter in over a year. Looking at Alara just breaks my heart. The heroine didn't even really cheat. Maybe the hero should just forgive her and give their child a complete family. To the person above me, can I get your wife's number? At that moment, Leora finally broke down. Kalen, what is he talking about? What unforgivable thing did she do? He had his mother take Alara into the other room. Then he turned to Leora, his gaze calm. Is she sure she wants to do this, Leora? She keeps saying she was nice to Zane to repay his parents. But if they're talking about gratitude, he said, quoting the air around the word, the debt she owes him is much greater. But how did she repay him? When her family's company was about to go under, he gave her everything he had to help her, and later, when her parents accused him of taking advantage of her family's vulnerability, what did she do? She didn't say a single word to defend him. But every time he pointed out that Zane had bad intentions, she defended him every single time. She was even willing to give up a fortune for him, but she slapped him across the face based on nothing more than his lies. Is she sure that when she hit him, her feelings for Zane were just about repaying a debt? Because if that's the case, she has a very unique way of measuring gratitude. Comments. The hero's words are like daggers, so on point. Both were acts of kindness. So why the double standard? It's obvious why some people think getting married is a gift they bestow upon their partner and that the partner should worship the ground they walk on. Totally. They act like a doormat at work, but a tyrant at home. It's the same with people who spoil their siblings or are total mama's boys. They push all their responsibilities onto their spouse. A little while later, his mom brought Alara out of the room. He didn't know what his mom said to her, but the first thing Alara said when she saw him was, Daddy, I want to live with you, okay? He stroked Alara's hair, a wave of genuine happiness washing over him. There was a selfish reason he wanted custody of Alara. His year of traveling hadn't settled his restless heart. Instead, it had shown him his purpose in life. Either travel or read. The soul and the body must always be in motion. Bringing in a child would stop his parents from nagging him about getting married again, and it would give them some company. With money to hire nannies, taking care of a child wouldn't be a burden on them at all. And now that the Sterling family was bankrupt, winning a custody battle would be a breeze for his lawyers. Unlike the drawn-out fight it would have been a year ago. Leora was stunned. Alara, what is she saying? Isn't Mommy good to her? Alara nodded, then shook her head. Mommy, you're very good to me, but Grandma and Grandpa don't like me when you're not around. They call me a waste of money and say that Daddy left because I wasn't a boy. But they were lying. Daddy didn't leave me. Leora looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. Why didn't she ever tell her? She did, Alara said softly. But she told me Grandma was just in a bad mood and that I shouldn't hold it against her. Comments. What a sweet, perceptive child. The hero needs to find a good stepmom for her. I support the hero getting together with the second female lead. She's beautiful and kind and will treat Alara like her own daughter. He looked away. He'd seen enough of the comments to know they were talking about a girl from his college days who had a huge crush on the original Kalen. Her family was extremely wealthy, but he had no intention of contacting her. She had reached out a few times during his year of travel, and he had turned her down every time. Leaving aside the fact that she was in love with the original Kalen, his wild, freedom-loving personality wasn't suited for being tied down to anyone. More importantly, a rich, beautiful heiress who in the novel's ending was perfectly fine with a hero having a harem. That wasn't the thinking of a normal person. That was just an author's fantasy character. Leora tried to say something else, but he was done listening. He had the bodyguards escort her out. After spending Christmas with his parents and daughter, he hit the road again. Time flew. 1 year, 2 years, years. He lived well, incredibly well. The million he started with grew into tens of millions in interest alone sitting in the bank, and with the original Kalen's memories, he had a keen eye for investments. He backed a few projects, and the money multiplied several times over. He didn't have to worry about making a living. He was completely free. Was this the life of a mortal? No, this was the life of a god. The comments would occasionally drift by. Forget love, forget immortality, I just want 1 day of Kalen's life. Hey, blonde Kalen's romantic conquests are finally going international. This is the kind of crematorium I want to see. Once you're in the fire, you stay there. Let them both move on and be happy on their own. When he was nearly, he suddenly felt the urge to settle down. He opened a coffee shop. Most days he just brewed a cup, picked up a book, and relaxed. Maybe one day, when he was rested enough, he'd start a new journey. Soft, melodic music filled the clean, bright coffee shop. Time is a one-way trip. You can never go back. The good and the bad are all part of the view. In the years that followed, he saw Leora a few times. He never said another word to her. Every time, he would roll up his car window and drive away without a second glance. In his view, what's missed is missed, what's lost is lost. Even if he were the original Kalen, he would never go back. Leora's existence was just a scene from the past, and the best view is always the one that lies ahead. Epilogue, Leora's story. The day Kalen had her thrown out of the mansion, it was Christmas Eve. Snow was falling from the sky, blanketing the world in a vast expanse of white. It was beautiful, like a scene from a classic romance movie, but she was in no mood to appreciate the scenery. She hugged her cheap $100 down jacket tighter, as if that could bring her any warmth. She got back to the apartment building. Warm light glowed from every window. It was a day for family reunions. She reached her front door, stuck the key in the lock, and turned it. The door clicked open. Inside, there was no hot meal waiting, no caring family to greet her. Her mother, who had been waiting for her, looked past her with greedy eyes. When she saw that Kalen wasn't with her, her neck stiffened. Where's Kalen? Didn't he come back with her? No. What about Alara? She didn't bring her back either? No. She useless thing. This is all because of her cheating. Her mother launched into her usual endless tirade. When she finally tired herself out, she shot back with a cold face. Wasn't she the one who couldn't stand Kalen? She said she'd be better off marrying Zane than him. If she hadn't been bad-mouthing him to her all the time, telling her he wasn't good enough for her, they wouldn't be in this mess. And today she heard from Alara that she called her a waste of money when she wasn't around. What kind of grandmother does that? This argument had been repeating daily in this 1,000-square-foot apartment ever since Valerian Corp went bankrupt a month ago. For a normal person, a 1,000-square-foot apartment might be the result of a lifetime of hard work, but for her mother, who had moved out of a mansion, it was like falling from heaven into hell. The jarring change drove her to the brink of a breakdown. Every day, she vented frustration by blaming her, Kalen, her father, Zane, anyone she could think of. She had gone from trying to reason with her to enduring it to now fighting back. She adopted her own method, accusing her of being the one who destroyed her year marriage to Kalen. It was a way to shut her up and a way to lie to herself, to believe that her failed marriage wasn't her fault, but the fault of her parents and Zane. As for her father, her gaze drifted to the study. The door was shut tight. He was probably in there with his earplugs in, hiding from the noise. After their fight, her mother's expression changed again. She began to coax her in a soft voice. Leora, honey, why doesn't she try again tomorrow? No matter what, she didn't actually cheat on him, and she gave him a daughter. Besides, even if he doesn't want to remarry, he should give her some of the assets back. Nowadays, even if someone really cheats, they don't have to leave with nothing. She couldn't stand to listen to it anymore. She ran to her room and locked the door, shutting out her familiar lecture. She yelled her name a few times from the hallway. While she didn't answer, she started cursing again. When she tired of that, she turned her fire on her father, pounding on the study door. In the darkness of her room, she huddled her knees, and silent tears streamed down her face. She regretted it. She regretted agreeing to his terms just to get him to drop the charges against Zane. She regretted listening to Zane's lies and slapping Kalen, a slap that shattered their relationship. She regretted thinking Kalen would never leave her, so she kept protecting Zane, letting him stay by her side and poison her marriage. She regretted believing that as long as she didn't physically cheat, she could have it all, a brother who gave her emotional support and a husband who managed her life perfectly. She regretted forgetting the days when Kalen and she had relied on each other, scrambling for investors and clients to save her family's company. She had so many regrets, more than she could count. If she had a second chance, she would never divorce Kalen. She would never have listened to Zane's side of the story and slapped Kalen. She would have investigated first, and after discovering Zane's true colors, she would have cut him out of her life without a second thought. But in this world, there's no medicine for regret. Kalen, she's dreaming. If he hadn't hit her, at most he would have just avoided a beating, but not divorcing her? Keep dreaming. Epilogue, Kalen's story. He set out on a new journey. This time he chose to return to the first stop of his year odyssey, Bend, Oregon, a new beginning. All those years ago, he met a girl here named Sylvie. She was pure and beautiful. He almost broke his vow of freedom for her, almost decided to stay and build a life with her, but in the end he ran. He wondered how Sylvie was doing after years. He found a number for a local bed and breakfast on his phone and called to ask about the rooms. 5 seconds later, he heard a voice he'd heard countless times in his dreams. In a soft, gentle tone she said, "Hello, one in one town, one life to find the one. Welcome to the inn in the river. How can he help him?" One in one town, one life to find the one. His vision blurred. In that moment, through the wind and the mountains and the clear blue sky of this town, he could see her as she was at. Maybe a middle-aged man of like him should finally settle down. Or maybe his journey just needed a permanent companion. The end.